You know, for most of our lives, there's been one country that's pretty much been the undisputed global leader. But what happens when that era starts to wind down? Today, we're going to explore the future of world power and ask a pretty simple question. Who's next? Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, we have to start with a simple, kind of unavoidable historical fact. All great powers, whether you're talking about the Ottomans, the Spanish, or the Soviet Union, they all eventually see their influence fade. It's a pattern that's as old as civilization itself. And that's not just some old saying, right? It is a historical reality. The sun famously set on the British Empire. And after the Cold War, the Soviet Union collapsed, leaving the United States as really the world's only superpower. But if history teaches us anything, it's that dominance is never, ever permanent.
So that brings us right to the core mystery we're digging into today. The question isn't if the current world order will change, it's really how. And more importantly, is there any single country out there that's actually ready to step up and take that top spot?
So how do we even begin to answer that? Well, to figure out who might be next, we need a simple way to measure this stuff. Let's break down what it really takes to be a global power into three core, interconnected pillars.
First up, you've got money. This is the engine. It's not just about being rich, it's about the ability to create and sustain economic activity, through trade, finance, and industrial strength. Without a seriously powerful economic engine, nothing else really gets off the ground.
The second pillar is knowledge. Think of this as the blueprint for the future. It's a nation's ability to innovate, to educate its people, to be on the cutting edge of research and technology. Money might build today's power, but it's knowledge that builds tomorrow's. And finally, of course, we have power itself. This is the shield. This is the hard military strength you need to protect your assets, secure your supply chains, and basically make sure that your whole economic and intellectual system can run without somebody else messing with it.
The best way to think about it is like a three-legged stool. If you have all three legs, money, knowledge, and power, it's incredibly stable. But what happens if you kick one of those legs out? The whole thing just topples over. Global influence works the exact same way. A strong economy without a military is vulnerable. A big military without an economy is just unsustainable. And without knowledge, both of them are just going to stagnate. You absolutely have to have all three lined up.
Okay, so now that we have our framework, let's have some fun with it. Let's do a quick global scorecard and apply this three-pillar test to some of the world's biggest players and just see how they measure up.
First up, the one that's on everybody's mind whenever this topic comes up, China. So on paper, China looks like a home run, right? It checks the box for money, it's pouring resources into knowledge, and it's rapidly building its power. But, and this is a really crucial point, its focus has been almost entirely internal and regional. The number one priority is domestic stability and securing its own backyard, which is a very, very different game than projecting power across the entire planet.
Okay, next up, let's shift our gaze to another huge economic force, Europe. Now, Europe is fascinating because it's rock solid on two of the three pillars. It absolutely has the money, a massive, advanced economy, and it has the knowledge with some of the best universities and research centers in the world. But that third leg of the stool, unified power, well, that's where it gets a bit wobbly. Its decentralized political and military structure makes it really tough to act as one single, decisive global player. Now let's turn to a rising giant, a country with absolutely enormous long-term potential, India.
India has all the raw ingredients, a massive population, fast economic growth, and a really expanding knowledge base. But, and this is a big but, it's currently held back by some pretty significant internal hurdles. Things like uneven development and a brain drain of its skilled workers, well, they limit its ability to really get all three of those pillars firing on all cylinders on the world stage.
So wait a minute. If there isn't one obvious successor, what is actually going on? Well, this is where we get to the real heart of the matter. Power isn't being passed along like a baton in a relay race. It's actually shattering into pieces.
This right here shows the huge shift we're living through. We're moving from a world with one clear leader to a world with multiple regional spheres of influence. Instead of one central power, what we're seeing is fragmented regional power centers popping up. And the key takeaway is that right now, there's no single country that has all three pillars, money, knowledge, and power, fully aligned on a global scale.
And this brings us to the new pattern. So while global alignment of the three pillars is incredibly rare, regional alignment is becoming the new name of the game. Countries are focusing their economic, tech, and military strength to dominate their own corner of the world. This is the new map of power.
So, what does all this mean for the future? Well, the most important thing to remember is that even though the players in the map itself are changing, the fundamental rules of the game are not. At the end of the day, it always comes back to this. Money gives you the reach. Knowledge gives you the ability to innovate and adapt. And power gives you the security to make the whole thing last. Wherever these three things line up, influence grows. And wherever one is weak, influence shrinks. It's the timeless structure of dominance.
And that is probably the most important thing to take away from all of this. Power isn't just vanishing from the world stage. It's not evaporating. It's just being rearranged, reconfigured into a new, much more complex pattern. Which leaves us with one last kind of provocative question to chew on. If we really are entering an era with no single global leader, an era of competing regional powers, who gets to write the rules for everyone else?